It was 3 a.m. I had school the next morning, but I was scrolling on Instagram and I came across these half-naked girls on Instagram. This was me discovering Instagram models for the first time, and as soon as I saw them, it sent a reminder into my head that I had never had a girlfriend before, and that led me down a negative path of thinking. After being reminded of the fact that I didn't have a girlfriend, I thought to myself, what if I never get married? What if I never have my first kiss? What if I never have any of these things? And eventually, I came to the conclusion that that was my life that I had to accept. It wasn't something that was imaginary. It wasn't like I was just being sad in my head. This is something that I thought was actually going to be true. So I put my phone down and I really just sat there and thought about it for pretty much the entire night. I was tossing and turning, trying to go to sleep, but these thoughts were keeping me awake and my mind was racing even though I wasn't moving. These non-stop thoughts were racing up until I heard my alarm go off. You know, that ear-piercing, ear-bleeding Apple iPhone alarm. For your sake, I'm not even going to play it out loud because of how much it sucks. After hearing that alarm out loud, I felt exhausted. My eyes were crusted over and I barely wanted to get out of bed. I was so close to grabbing my phone and pressing the snooze button, even though I had school. I had no motivation to get up and do anything. The only thought in my head is, I wish I could go back to sleep and just stay like that for as long as possible, not having to think about all these bad things that are happening to me. And this all really stemmed from the fact that I had never had a girlfriend. Eventually, I get out of bed, splash some water on my face, and I'm ready to go to school. But I knew that it wasn't going to be too enjoyable because I was going to a place where I had to be reminded over and over again how far behind I was in life at the time. I had this class with a girl that I thought was really attractive, and it was me, my friend, and this other random guy who I wasn't really friends with that was there, who were all really trying to compete for her attention because she was known for being very attractive. I would talk to this girl every day with the hope of maybe dating this girl at some point in my life. But at the same time, I had no confidence and I felt like there was never a world where I could ever ask her out. That was out of the picture in my head. So it was really a dumb thought looking back if you think about it, because I wanted to date this girl without ever asking her out, without being confident or having anything going for me. As I continued throughout the school year, me and these two other guys had been competing for this girl every single day that we had a class together, which was not every day, but every other day. After the entire school year had passed, I thought in my head that I had finally won. Of these three guys, I knew that I was going to be the one that she picks to, I guess, date or something like that. I didn't even see what could happen after the fact of dating. I was pretty much only lost in the fact that I hoped this girl would like me at some point. And that's when we went on this final field trip until summer, which means me and my entire grade went on a trip to this random place. On this trip, I once again thought that I had won this girl over because she sat next to me, she would talk to me, she wouldn't talk to any of the other guys. It was only me that she was giving attention to, when the entire beginning part of the year, it was all of us. So after all this time I spent in my head trying to think of what I should say to this girl to quote unquote ask her out, I mustered up the courage to say something. I decided that after this grade field trip, I was going to ask her out, and that would be the end of it. I ask her out before the school year's over so that no matter what happens, if she says no, the year is over anyway. If she says yes, I win her over. So after mustering up the courage, I finally texted her and I asked her out. I told her my true feelings. I told her that I liked her, and realistically, this wasn't actually asking her out. This was me just telling her how I felt and hoping that it went the right way. I was absolutely thrilled by the thought that I actually made a move, because none of these other guys were willing to do that. And that alone was enough to make me really excited, at least until everything went wrong. She said she didn't feel the same. And the worst part of it all is I don't actually believe that she didn't feel the same. I think that she was afraid of how other people would see us together. So realistically, either way, it was a bad scenario. And that's not as bad as it got. This sent me down a negative spiral of trying to understand my true self and figure out what I should do with my life, because even though it seemed like something as simple as asking a girl out, this was a year of commitment of trying to get this girl to like me. So imagine doing something for an entire year and getting nothing back from it. This is when I followed the similar path as most guys. I started going to the gym, working out, and I tried to find a new purpose in life. Yet in the deep depths of my head, I could not stop thinking about this girl, because a girl that you like, a girl that you talk to every day, you don't just forget if they reject you or if you never say anything to them. They remain in your head, and obviously years later, I still think about it sometimes, not in the sense that I still want this girl, but in the sense that it happened. In the gym, I would blast loud music in my headphones, trying to take my mind off the fact that I was so lonely, and it felt like nothing would stop it, except for when I felt the pain of my muscles contracting and growing, I guess. I thought that girls were the reason I was going to the gym, but that was not the reason. The true reason is because I was filling the void of the emptiness I felt within my heart. And that emptiness had not just come from a lack of girls, but a lack of purpose and a lack of meaning in my life. After all of this working out and training, I found the next girl. Now, the issue with this one is it was a similar story. It lasted for a long period of time where I tried to win this girl over. I tried to do everything. And eventually, when I asked her out, it didn't work. And this one cut a lot deeper than the first one. I couldn't tell you why, but it genuinely felt a pain in my heart, like I got stabbed. Once again, the loop continues. I get back in the gym, I blast loud music, I make my muscles contract because for whatever reason, the physical pain would make the mental torment I was going through go away. And although it might sound corny to some people, this is how I truly felt. I felt behind in life, I felt like I wasted my time, and I felt like my purpose was non-existent. So I thought maybe there was more to life. I move on and I finally have another girl, but this time I end up dating her. At this time, I got really big into posting on social media, and it felt like I wasn't only chasing girls, and the one time I wasn't chasing girls alone is when it became the easiest to get one. I had started building my social media following, building my mindset by watching content like this, and building myself by going to the gym. It felt like all aspects of life were improving until I went through my first breakup. This one stung worse than the rest, and I would say sting is an understatement. I felt like my head and my heart got slammed into a wall. The worst part of it all is I was the loser in this scenario. I was the one who cared so much, and that also meant that I was the one who came out looking like a fool. From my friends, from the people around me, telling me that I should not be so beat up over this. Nothing could change the way I truly felt. At the time, I thought this was the hardest point in my life, and I decided that the gym wasn't enough to get me through this one. I woke up every morning sick to my stomach with that empty feeling once again of the fact that maybe the girl wasn't the only problem. Maybe I was the problem. But now one thing had changed. I didn't feel as behind in life because I found my purpose in creating content. And I realized that this was one of the few things that I could work on that made me feel fulfilled without needing a girl in my life, without even wanting a girl in my life. Deciding to work on this was one of the best things I ever did in my life. But this was not sunshine and rainbows, because to add to the cake that I had gone through a breakup, my life was crumbling under me. I had extreme family issues, and if you don't already know this, which you probably don't, I grew up very poor. My life felt like trying to put lipstick on a pig. It just doesn't look good, and it gets messy. Besides the fact that I found my passion in creating content, I discovered that if I hadn't made money from it, I would have to give that up too, and this is something I was not willing to sacrifice. Every day I would show up at school, I was made fun of by fellow classmates, my peers, even my friends and family. Once again, I was completely alone, and although this time it wasn't just from a girl, it was isolation from absolutely everyone, because even though I was surrounded by people, there's nothing more lonely than nobody understanding you. So I decided to put all of my focus into self-improvement, posting content trying to help other people do the same, and trying to help young guys feel understood in their situation, whether they're poor, whether they have no girlfriends, whether they feel meaningless and have no direction to go in life. Maybe helping people would make me feel fulfilled. It definitely did, but through creating content, it separated me from everyone in my life more and more. My friends, my family, my classmates, and absolutely everyone. I became an outcast. Life doesn't feel so good when your hard work is made fun of, but when you try to make things better, people make fun of you for working too hard. It doesn't really make sense. Waking up sick to my stomach every day, I knew I couldn't stop because every single cell in my body hated the life path I was heading down. That's when I decided to launch my first business that made $1 million within the first year. And if you're wondering how this is related to a girl, it all started because of my heartbreak. This business, although there was some financial gain, destroyed me, my family's relationship, and everything around me. I had made a little bit of money, but at the cost of everything else in my life. My friends, my family, the people around me, and even my own mental sanity. I went insane literally manic, waking up every single day, posting hundreds of videos on TikTok just to relieve the pain that I felt. I decided that instead of scrolling on social media, my coping mechanism was posting, because at least I could get my message out there. I built my spam account now to over 400,000 followers in less than a year. After all the pain and struggle I went through, I gained over 3 million followers. I created a #1 best-selling Amazon brand, sitting on my high horse, making a lot of money, over $30,000 a month in my business, making millions. I thought that this would fill the void, but there's no escaping the fact that I'm completely empty. No friends, no family, just me and my work. I started a new YouTube channel, which I linked in the description, where I teach people how to make money online and follow in my footsteps. If that sounds interesting to you, I highly suggest clicking the link in the description and watching those videos after this. But this story is not over, because I wake up every single day with that same sickening feeling in my stomach that I had going through my first breakup. I feel empty. As corny as it sounds, as funny as it sounds, and as many people will make fun of me for saying that, it's the truth. The main difference between me now and me back then is chasing a girl is no longer the coping mechanism. The coping mechanism is helping other guys and learning how to make the most money I possibly can. Why is money such a factor here, and what does this have anything to do with girls? Well, I realized that the root of all my problems, the reason I didn't get girls, the reason I didn't get the things I wanted, was all stemming from money. The reason the first girl didn't work out is because I wore goofy looking clothes and she would have been made fun of for dating someone like me. I had these clothes because I was too poor to afford anything better. The second girl didn't like me because she thought I was too self-absorbed by focusing on the gym and myself too much, which once again came from the problem of not having money. During my last relationship and the hardest breakup of my entire life, didn't work because I was insecure. The reason I was insecure is because I felt insufficient, because I wasn't providing for myself, making money, or successful in life. So now the thing that I'm chasing is beyond a girl. It is chasing what I believe is my purpose, which is helping people fix the insecurity that held me back my entire life. The insecurity of being poor, not being enough, and having no idea what to do with my life. This took a deep turn from being a girl story, and I understand that. But if this helps one person change the way they're living their life, it was all worth it to me. I'm not saying that you should learn to make money because it will get you girls, but the reason I teach it is because it feels like my passion. So if you want to change the thing in life that is holding you down the most, whether it's the lack of self-improvement, the lack of money, the lack of purpose, my YouTube channel that I just created is there to help teach you all the principles that you should know. My purpose is no longer about getting a girl, it's about helping guys through the situation I went through earlier in my life. If I can help one person feeling lost, this video was worth it. Click the link in the description to find my new channel.